Welcome to Squatch-D, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, March 5th, 2025. March 5th already. Look at that. You know what that means, Chris? Spring is around the bend.
Yeah. But we got about 2 more weeks left until it officially gets there.
And everybody, let's not forget, I'll be reminding everybody Sunday night that we got to turn the clocks ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So no more dark nights, just dark mornings.
Well, I'll be glad when it starts, sun starts going down about 8:30 at night. That'll suit me.
Yep.
I like the long day.
But, it's been a very interesting couple of days. Believe it or not, I'm getting some feedback on this, and people are really enjoying the heck out of this.
Oh, yeah.
So that is really a good thing. I've probably got about 4 or 5 emails just over the last few days about it.
Good.
And they're like, wow, so hey, we're just keep on rolling. Now, something crazy happened this morning, Chris.
Well, what happened?
Well, remember I told you about this Squatch Detective's Guide to Bigfoot investigations.
Yeah.
Well, this book, passe, because I just added 2 more chapters to it this morning. I realized there was some stuff missing to it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, get that in there. So I spent the whole morning putting the new chapters in, reformatting it, getting the chapters realigned, re-indexed, the whole nines, table of contents fixed. So, and right now I have the hardcover is good to go. I'm still waiting for the paperback to release so I can upload the new manuscript to that. So
you scrapped the old one and come out with another one.
Yeah.
New and improved.
Yes.
But wait,
actually, the artwork in that book is great. So that's going to be a little bit of a collector's item. There is a proof book that, I thought that was going to be it. And this morning I was like, you know what? I forgot this aspect and I forgot that aspect to add it into it too. I just want to make it more of a complete work.
Well, yeah, sometimes we do that. We go back and we look at it and we say, I really wish I would have added this, or I really could discuss more about that.
So now, so we ended up adding, I think, collectively like 18 pages to it this morning. Mm-hmm. So a couple of more chapters. So, and we got all the bugs worked out of it too. There were still a few bugs, which I found believe it or not, when I got the copy of this is a proof copy. Mm-hmm. And, I always write my notes on the inside cover, proof copy, and what the corrections were.
Right.
And believe it or not, I only found 1 error in this book. And it was just a spacing error. That book, I found a couple of spacing errors. I found, and then having to add the chapters in. So, but damn, I mean, very happy with the product, the final products. And of course, I'll be polishing up in what would Sasquatch 2 Volume 2. I'm pretty sure that one's set and good to go too, because I was pretty hot and heavy on that one. Yeah. The investigation guide, that one by really fast, but the other one, so should be good to go with the other one.
Well, You gotta feel good. Good. You feel good about it, then release it. You know, that's the way to go.
And that one's coming out April 5th. So I do not have a copy of that. I won't have my copy of that for another week.
Right.
So, and the updated covers to the Sasquatch Playbook, which I decided to redo the cover because I didn't like the old cover. It was made with Kindle's Cover Creator, and their templates are not the greatest. So I develop my own artwork and stuff now and get that in there. But
I like the Bigfoot art that you work on. I like that.
Oh, I tell you what, the artwork on both these books is phenomenal.
This one here got the Bigfoot with his mouth open. I mean, that's great. I love that.
So yeah.
We need to do the roll call.
We sure do.
Let me scroll up here. A lot of people. Hey guys.
All right, first in today was Sharon from Belgium. Have a great show, guys. And if you catch us on the flip side, then that's good to go. Mitch Hargrove, good to see you, sir. Grasshopper, Walter Kroll, Mick in the Meatloaf is in the house. Grant Rasha, hello, Grant. Roy Longley representing the Lurkers. Hello.
Roy.
Boris Kahn, Goonie Goo Goo.
Boris.
Martin Stilts, good to see you, Martin. The Susie Monster. What's happening? Who else? We got Gary Johnson Sr. Good to see you, Gary. Jen, what's happening? Yes, that's right. Happy midweek all. Hump day. Hump day. What day is it? What day is it? It's hump day. Brian Wolf, all right, from Wolf Rock Radio. Yeah. Hello. Greetings from Bourbonland. Ain't that the truth? Don Gumow Jr., good to see you. Who else now? Now we're getting into the nitpicky. We got to start looking and reading and looking.
I'm scrolling.
Brian S., good to see you, Brian. Hello. Robert Denduvin, hello. Who else? Smedley Do Right in the house. Angel Nolan, hello, Angel Nolan, and I am at the bottom of the list.
I think that's it. You got Smedley Do Right?
Yep.
Smedley.
Absolutely. Well, guten Abend, meinen Herren und Damen. So.
Welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
So. There's Nikki. Nikki just said hello too.
Nikki.
And Helton. Helton is there too.
Pastor Man, welcome. And hello to all the lurkers out there. We appreciate you.
So, Bigfoot in speech. Another little project. I mean, I even though I had written 49 scientific papers in the book. 49 different scientific papers in this book. I just wrote another one. And that is assessing the unlikelihood of Bigfoot utilizing speech similar to Homo sapiens. And this is inspired by a couple of things. And I'm actually, and Jay Fretz, there's Jay, my man. We get worried we don't see you, Jay. So
good to see you, Jay.
So I have another.
Grant's got a new title for, was it a movie, Grant, or a book?
Planet of the Bigfoot. I think I got a sneeze coming on, but anyway. I have another blog article coming out, and it kind of ties in with this little one very inadvertently. Mm-hmm. And my next, this is how much writing I've been doing. The next one is, and we're going to be doing a show about this, I believe, Sunday, and it's going to be Primate Evolution, the story of our ancient cousins. And it's going to be in relation to Bigfoot as well. And in it discusses extensively the infamous, I think it's the FOX2N gene. And I'm sorry, the FOXP2 gene, known as the language gene, and its role in human evolution in our speech development. And we'll be talking about that. Some amazing stuff. And I'm going to get some video put together as well for the show. showcasing. They actually gave the fox P2 gene to mice.
Mm-hmm.
The mice didn't talk. They didn't say, "Excuse me, do you have any cheese?" No, they didn't do that. But what they did do is they started communicating a little bit differently between one another. The frequency of their squeaking was different. And they began to have better memory.
That's interesting.
And they began to problem solve a little bit better than the other mice in the control group.
Well, that would seem to suggest that there was some communication there.
Right. So we'll be covering that one Sunday, but that does tie in a little bit to what we are going to discuss tonight. Now, you know, a lot of times when I say Bigfoot doesn't have a language, let's be clear about this. That doesn't mean they don't communicate. That doesn't mean they have their own quote unquote language. The minutiae here in the whole argument is syntactics. And what are syntactics? Syntactics essentially are the elaborate way we speak, the articulation, the complicated way we speak, and the fact that we can take our speech and relate them to symbols and vice versa. And we can actually relate them to other languages as well. That's why I said Guten Abend, meinen Herren und Damen. That's German, another language. Not only do we know one language, but we are multi-language people in a lot of instances. I just happen to speak, ich spreche Deutsch, aber nicht so gut. I happen to speak German. Not so good, but I speak it. Now, why do I speak German? Well, my grandparents came from Germany. My father learned German from them. He was very fluent in German because they spoke that mainly in the house. But when they were on the street amongst their American compadres, they spoke English.
Right.
So, and that's not a political statement. That is a statement on how we can be multilingual.
Yeah.
We don't see that in other primates, do we?
Again, no, not much.
Again, that part of that is that FOXP2 gene.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why we're able to do that. And of course, that all translates to syntactics. So let's Grant Rasha asks, was ist Bigfoot in Deutsch? It is großer Fuß. Großfuß. My God, I remember that. Now, Sasquatch in German would be Sasquatch, but because it's a literal name. However, Bigfoot, gross, big, Fuß, foot. That's why, you know, soccer is called foosball.
Yeah.
So.
I like foosball.
That's where that got the name from, too, and that's why it's little soccer players.
Yeah, I've dropped many quarters in those little foosball games. Those are fun.
But it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
So.
But I remember when Sandy first came here and she was trying to teach me Thai. I asked her, I said, well, what is Thai for Coca-Cola? She said, Coca-Cola.
That's right. Names are names.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good to learn a language.
So,
the second language.
The very interesting thing is I'm trying to see. I'm getting the two papers mixed up a little bit.
Don't know, Mick. I don't think I could ever learn Aramaic.
So yeah, that's in the other paper. But I'll give you a great example. Oh, the Howler just poked in. Hello, Howler.
Howler. And Jen asked a while ago if we remembered grasshopper. Yeah, we got him. He was one of the first few that was in.
Right.
So we did catch grasshopper this
like number 3.
Yeah.
In fact, I think if you go up to the top, he was like 3 or 4 in the.
Yeah. It was close to the top.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this. In evaluating cryptid species purported to be close to human relatives, questions of cognition and communication emerge. Modern humans have a unique capacity for symbolic thought, abstract reasoning, and the formation of complex languages, abilities strongly correlated with our anatomical and neurological developments. Thus, the argument for the unlikelihood of Bigfoot having speech on par with Homo sapiens rests on several factors. So factor 1 is anatomical structures necessary for speech. And I don't know why this got messed up. This isn't a final report yet. So, but part of it is vocal tract anatomy. Humans possess a descended larynx, a lower larynx, that enables a wider range of articulated sounds. Okay. Brain regions, the Broca's area and the Wenke's area, are critical for speech production and comprehension, respectively. And we have social complexity and culture. Language likely co-evolve with increasing social complexity. So think about that our language advanced as we became more socially interacting. Because think about it. Language is a evolutionary tool, if you think about it. Because if you're amongst a few, if you're just like 5 or 6 of you, that the need for speech isn't as great, and it's hard to think in this aspect. But the need for speech and complex communication is not that necessary in small groups. Think about it. Right. Well, I know how my wife thinks, or I know how my best bud thinks, right? But as you interact with people foreign to you or new to you, or however you want to put that into a realm, they definitely, the need for a language is definitely becomes necessary.
Oh yeah.
So that's another thing. One other thing too, which is very interesting, and well, I don't want to jump ahead yet. The other thing too is tool use in the mastery of fire, which often reflect cognitive complexity and social learning processes in hominins. So selective pressures in hominin evolution facilitated language development. Given purported Bigfoot sightings and evidence do not convincingly demonstrate advanced tool use or control of fire, this paper contends that the selective pressures driving the evolution of complex human speech are likely absent in Bigfoot, rendering Homo sapien-like speech improbable. Like I said, it's about syntactics. We didn't say nothing about any of the other. So one of the things I did was a comparative approach. The non-human primates, despite close genetic similarities to humans, our nearest primate relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans, do not exhibit vocal communication with the complexity or syntactic structure of human language. That's a reference directly out of The Chimps of Mugambi by Jane Goodall. Mm-hmm. Primates can have an impressive gestural repertoires, and some can learn rudimentary sign language or symbolic boards. But the physiological constraints of their vocal apparatus and the lack of advanced cultural impetus for speech have prevented the evolution of human-like spoken language. So let's talk about some of the early hominins. Fossil evidence suggests that hominins such as Homo erectus and Neanderthal had varying capacities for complex vocalizations. As a matter of fact, I know factually that Neanderthals had the FOXP2 gene, but their vocal cords were positioned differently. They were positioned more like the great apes. I was on a show the other night, I think Billy Willard on Billy's show, and we got in a discussion about this a little bit. And Neanderthals had a problem saying 3 vowels, oo, e, and ah. Right? So forget about singing the witch doctor song for the
Yeah.
Neanderthals. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ee, ah. No, they're not going to do it. They had problems saying ooh, ee, and ah. So their language, although might have mimicked a little bit of the Homo sapien language,
Right.
it was a lot more less articulated.
Yeah.
Wasn't so refined. It was probably, you know, think of the what do you want me to do, boss? Right? So,
well, you know, I'd always thought that maybe they used a lot of nonverbal communications, but you know, then you know, you hear audio recordings like the Sierra sounds and things, and you know, that's some sort of
oh yes, the I forget exactly how to pronounce this. The Isu in the language of the Dene. If I because I spent many a time on Navajo in Christ. Welcome and put that out there. Thank you for sharing that with us. I wouldn't have remembered that, but I spent about a month on the Navajo res out there in the beautiful Tisnos Post, Arizona, just below the Carrizo Mountains, and we actually went up to the Lucachukais. And yes, what a very interesting, beautiful land. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they love listening to Native American songs. That I mean, think about it. The basal, you know, boom, boom, boom. You know
right.
the chanting that it gets them. And yeah, some of them musical bits by pardon me for my ignorance there, but part of their musical bits are very basal, very rudimentary, you know. And when you start doing that, that's something a Bigfoot can do and probably could mimic. Let's face it, a Bigfoot likely can mimic certain things, not necessarily, you know, not as badly as, probably as me doing Jesse Ventura.
I think they could probably mimic.
Let me tell you something, Bennett.
They could probably mimic sounds, but as far as understanding what those sounds mean,
right?
I'm not sure.
Or they you know, as far as mimicking language, it may sound very, oh, yeah, oh, hello, hello.
You know, there's lots of reports from people here talking in the woods. You know, but you know what could that could have been, you know, somebody from the other side of the hill.
Well, again, we have to remember the good old psychology of Bigfoot,
right?
Which is available for sale on Amazon. Another cheap plug. That you know, people can hear things, people can see things, and they can actually, like I said, they anthropomorphize. If they hear, oh, they were speaking a language. No, not necessarily.
Right.
That's just our, you know, embedding our own selves into that situation. Right. So we got to avoid anthropomorphization. So just because something sounds like speech doesn't necessarily mean it is speech. Right. It's communication. Don't get me wrong. But syntactically, it's not speech. What are you doing?
Watson ready for a treat already?
No, he just had a big, huge bone, but he's like, under. Hang on a second, Chris. Okay. Take the show over for a second. I got to.
Well, you got to take care of Watson. We got to make sure your co-host there is taken care of. You know, I say Watson gets a better deal than I do. I never get a doggy treat. But, let's see. Lori Gibbs. Lori says they have their own language. Yes, no, Christ. It has some human verbs, etc., just like chimps, but it's their speech. That's interesting. You know, there are a lot of reports. You know, and I know Steve, you know, said we got to be careful. We don't want to attribute those reports as they heard language. They may have heard sounds, but people are hearing sounds in the woods that is leaving them with the impression they're hearing conversation or speech, people talking in the woods. And but the problem with those, what they didn't see, who was talking, is it could have been somebody on the other side of the hill.
I apologize. He picked the weirdest time to be weird. Get in the chair.
That's the thing about most of the times when people report a sighting of a Bigfoot, they don't report any speech involved with that sighting.
Right. Well, think about it. What would be, and well, let's continue on. Maybe this will understand, because we're going to do this comparative analysis here. Trying to.
Oh, Grant, Chris, do you whistle in the woods? No, I don't, Grant. But I have whistled back at a whistle I had heard, and I have heard whistles in the woods, yeah, and not birds, okay, not birds. I can tell the difference between a bird and somebody whistling.
Believe it or not, Lori asked, what did Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall do for communication? Nonverbal.
Yeah.
Giving food.
Yeah.
Eventually it led to touching, grooming a little bit.
Communication with speech, two different things.
Yep. Yeah, we there's no doubt they have communication.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that they have a way of expressing themselves.
Yeah.
Let me pop into this other one, because I'm getting the two papers mixed up a little bit, and where I was going with this. Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, that's right, Nikki. If you don't see him talking, you don't know what it was. That's right.
Right. I just saw the chat. I'm sorry. I apologize. I ended up getting out of work late today. So, not intentionally, but where is it? Okay, here we are. So early hominins, fossil evidence suggests hominins such as Homo erectus Neanderthal or Homo neanderthalensis had varying capacities for complex vocalization. Some argue that Neanderthals could produce articulated speech, although potentially more limited range than modern humans. These hominins demonstrated notable tool use, control of fire, and symbolic behavior, conditions indicative of sociocognitive advancement. And that's, like I said earlier, that is very quintessential in not only the development of language, but the use of language. And again, we talk about the potential for there being a structural, a pharyngeal structure that's not congruent with the way one may speak, or with the way we speak as hominins. So let's talk about this. And this is what I was getting at. Habitat and behavioral strategies, why their speech likely differs significantly from Homo sapiens. Despite anecdotal reports of vocalizations purportedly attributed to Bigfoot, variously described as howls, whoops, and even samurai chatter. Right. There is no verifiable evidence that Bigfoot employs a structured syntactic language akin to that of humans. And again, habitat and behavioral strategy. Large body creatures in dense forests could rely no less acoustically, or rather could, sorry, my eye, for some reason, I got this in the wrong font too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a little smaller than normally I print my scientific papers in. Large body creatures in dense forests could rely on less acoustically complex vocal calls. Example, long-distance whoops or howls to maintain social cohesion or mark territory. Gorillas, orangutans similarly communicate through, vocalizations, yet have no complex spoken language. Without the social or ecological pressures that led to human language, Bigfoot's hypothetical communication system would likely be more rudimentary. So, and then again, it recaps the anatomical constraints. Now, we talk about in the paper about Scott Nelson's analysis. I thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yep. I like I said, that's why I know the Navajo call themselves the Dene, which means the people. And great time, and one of the best fun times I ever had, and one of the greatest tasting items I had was what they called the Navajo taco, right there at the corner of right near Shiprock. That was great. Welcome Navajo in Christ. We appreciate you being here. So getting back to Scott Nelson, a central piece of evidence cited by proponents of the theory that Bigfoot possesses a complex language is the so-called Sierra Sounds, recorded in the 1970s by Al Berry and Ron Moorhead in the Sierra Nevada mountains. These audio clips purportedly capture samurai chatter, a rapid and seemingly language-like vocalization attributed by some to Bigfoot. Scott Nelson, a retired military cryptolinguist, has analyzed these recordings and posited that the sounds exhibit patterns consistent with language structures. He cites vocal intonations, potential phonemes, and repetition as clues that the recordings may represent an unknown language spoken by a species other than Homo sapiens. Yes, it's a Navajo taco. Grant just asked about the Navajo taco. Here we are going back to food again. Mention food and this chat comes alive. Navajo taco is like some seasoned ground beef, I believe, with adobo and some cilantro, and it's wrapped in a piece of Navajo fry bread. And I love that fry bread. Oh, so good.
Mick said he had a theory that if he could give Sasquatch could survive X-Mom's meatloaf, might mutate sufficiently and learn how to speak.
So he lives next town from the Lukachuk guys. Very good. And that's very close to the Chuskas as well. In fact, years ago, there was a big BFRO expedition out to the Chuskas. I believe Captain Strain wrote the paper for that one. So while Scott Nelson's background in linguistic analysis may lend an initial impression of credibility, his conclusions hinge almost exclusively on a single set of audio recordings with no corroborative data. Several factors undermine the broader scientific acceptance of his claims. Limited data set. Sierra Sounds are the lone source of the alleged language. A single data set, particularly from an environment prone to acoustic distortions, example, echo effects, other wildlife calls, cannot reliably substantiate claims of a new language. Lack of peer review publication. Nelson's work has not undergone rigorous peer review in recognized scientific journals, limiting its impact and scrutiny within the larger linguistics and zoological communities. And finally, absence of independent verification. No additional evidence, such as matched vocalizations from different regions or morphological data from any confirmed specimen, corroborates hypothesis that a language-capable hominid produced these sounds. Alternative explanation. Many known animals, including foxes, owls, coyotes, can produce a surprisingly diverse range of vocalizations without control conditions or definitive visual confirmation. Attributing the recordings to Bigfoot remains speculative. Now, I will say this, that given Ron Moorhead's visual encounters and the other people within his hunting group,
right,
did see things, so I'm prone to say let that one slide. But that's a good point that foxes and owls and coyotes all produce a surprisingly diverse range of vocalizations, but yet we never think that they have a language, do we?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right? Again, anthropomorphism
Right.
sinking into people's mindsets that they must have a language similar to ours because why? They walk upright. They're bipedal, right?
Grant said, "What does the fox say?" Well, that kind of reminded me of that. What was in the Janet or Janice Carter? Yes, according to her, that her local Bigfoot could speak.
What does the fox say? Can I have garlic?
He asked
Crushed,
for
not
garlic.
powdered.
Yes, he asked for garlic. They don't like it's got to be fresh. They don't like the one from the can. True story.
True story.
That's what she said. Now, I can't vouch for her.
Yes, Grant, we know it's a song.
Yeah. Gotcha. That just reminded me of Janice Carter and Fox and the garlic.
So,
talking about fry bread and stuff I'm getting hungry now, and I just ate pizza. Fry bread. Good stuff.
So the conjecture that an undiscovered North American primate would possess speech analogous to Homo sapiens is inconsistent with our understanding of hominin evolution and the prerequisites for complex language. Significant leaps in cognition, culture, and social behavior evidenced by sophisticated tool use, fire mastery, and symbolic expression played a critical role in developing human linguistic capabilities. Without these evolutionary drivers, Bigfoot would have little impetus to develop such an advanced communication system. But further research may shed light on the potential for vocal or social signals. However, the current body of knowledge suggests that human-like speech is highly unlikely in Bigfoot. And there is about 15 different references I call up on the paper here.
Yeah.
So,
Grasshopper says got a video from Janice Carter's house in the backyard. Looks like a Bigfoot head at the barbed wire fence. It turns away and then back. Could that be the Mary Green video you're talking about?
No, he says he was at Janice Carter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with Mary Green's videos, I think they were mostly leaves from what I could see. I never could make anything out of them. I don't know if anybody else did or not. But yeah, Mick had a where'd it go? Okay. Mick said something interesting about Sasquatch sounds despite of a lack of ability. They've been known to emit a singing sound that's been described as being beautiful.
Perhaps.
Huh. Never heard that.
Well, again, that's anecdotal.
Yeah.
It's not direct evidence. I'm saying, and there's certain things that are anecdotal, like, oh, well, supposedly they've been able to do this, or supposedly they've been able to do that.
Well, what I've heard hasn't been beautiful. Not beautiful at all. But maybe it could be,
Yeah, so if you take all these things into we got to feather out the let's put what people hear aside for a minute, because number one, they're not actually seeing the creature do this, right?
Yeah.
So even if they hear it, they're attributing it to Bigfoot, and without actually seeing the creature making these noises, including the reason why there is a connection with howls and whoops and stuff like that, because it is similar to what we have known about other primates. I see Jay is in the house. Jay, just so you know, we want to extend our deepest condolences for your loss, my friend, and our prayers and thoughts are with you, brother. So hope you're feeling better. You know, it's going to take some time, I know, but we're here for you.
Oh, there's Steve. Curious Cryptid.
Yep.
Says Qui-Gon Jinn said speech does not require intelligence. I used to disagree with that, but there are people who might convince me. Yes. I do it every day.
Poncho Zort says he's here for the Wokey. I think you have a typo in that one there, Poncho.
Oh man. Yeah.
Okay,
because
so
it's only anecdotal that I'm the one who pointed it out. I've read about Sasquatch singing and actual reports from people who heard it.
They heard it.
If they can make noises, I'm sure they can make.
But hold on, let's stop a second. Was there in the same report them saying they saw them doing that? Eyes on. Sound carries.
Yeah.
Could there be somebody camping over a ridge or a couple of canyons away, and they're blasting their music and it's reverberating a little softly? Because that will happen as well.
Yeah.
So you just never know. I get very dubious. And again, people say, well, it's got to be Bigfoot because it sounds like singing, and there's no people out here. It's got to be Bigfoot, but sound carries. We know that. Well, I would question maybe the veracity of that report, and the reason why is, and I'll explain why. If you have 10,000 reports wherever you're reporting similar things, and then all of a sudden you have this one report where somebody's reporting something way off beat, guess what? One gets thrown away. Yeah. That happens in science all the time. That's a scientific experiment. You do get the one occasional weird one, and for whatever reason, I didn't interview them, and since it's so odd, and of course they saw it. You know, well, if they saw it, did they record it? No. Did they get a picture of it? No. How far away were they? Right? These are all things I'd like to know before I really pass judgment on. But from the initial tilt to it,
I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. You know, don't just say, "Well, that's impossible. It can't ever happen." But just keep it in mind because it could happen.
But here's my point. When they say singing, do they mean like, oh, solo mio, oh, escongile? Or do they mean, big difference?
Yeah.
So, you know, I need a little more articulation on the actual event. And that's not no fault of Nick's, obviously, because he's just paraphrasing what he read somewhere.
Well, I think either they don't have a language or they refuse to communicate is what I think. I've never heard any speech like that.
Well, even if you hear the Sierra sounds, and I have both the CDs back in when CDs were a thing. Thank God I digitalized them.
Making sounds that were beautiful to the people who heard it. Yeah.
And I'm inclined to believe that.
Yes.
That makes it a lot more believable. So yeah, that makes
they're not going to be popping off a rendition of "You Shook Me All Night Long," of course, you know, but you know, I'm sure they could have some sort of melody that, you know. I know they got vocal cords. Absolutely, they got vocal cords because they could make it.
You don't think AC/DC's on their playlist?
Probably not. unless somebody gifted them a boom box.
They found an iPhone. It's an iPhone.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. They have iPhones. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, you made that video, and then immediately, it wasn't too long after that, Igor Burtsev was getting a phone call from Bigfoot. That's gold, man.
I inspired him. I inspired somebody, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as syntactics, I mean, if I listen, I mean, I've listened to the Sierra sounds, and I find them quite interesting and quite compelling. Although I know Brent Dill has come up with some information over there at yeah. But Brent Dill has come up with some information that allegedly has Ron Moore with a footprint on the ground, although you don't actually see Ron's whole body in the picture, and the print itself looks a little dubious. But I don't know what the context of that is. So I'll do some digging on that eventually. But and if that's the case, where here's a footprint to back up what we're saying with Sierra Sounds, that may not be so good. But Collins, thank you, Nikki. I'm having a senior moment today. It's been a very, very long day.
The tall ones, yeah, Brent. If there are reports though that they had saw some movement and stuff when they were making the Sierra Sounds,
right,
or they had witnessed one of the creatures, or maybe more than one, I could say that you could probably attribute to those sounds of coming from Sasquatch. But the problem is, I don't know of anybody that's ever reported anything like that.
Right. Yeah, it hasn't been duplicated.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Now, I will say this, that there is one part that you don't hear. Everybody thinks about the samurai chatter a lot, but there is another part where one's going,
right.
I have heard that reported too. And eventually that turns into the samurai chatter, but there's a whole prelude to that.
Right.
Before, the traditional samurai chatter, whatever.
Yeah. Pretty good. I've heard audio recordings from Washington State, and I hear a shrieking off in the distance that I have heard in Kentucky. That is repeatable. The samurai chatter, no, I've never heard anything like that.
So I'm also going to say this: there is an Easter egg. There is an Easter egg on the Sasquatch on the SquatchDetective.com audio page. Yes. There is an Easter egg there, and I'm wondering who's going to find it first. So, one of my and actually, it's one of the best imitations I can do. I can really do that call from that particular creature, Chris.
Yeah.
You've heard me do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've actually had some people spin around going, wow, I thought that was him. Well, Jay, why does language have to be symbols, grunts, hisses? Because language by definition is not communication. Language is basically a set of an alphabet, a set of rules such as grammar, the way sentence structure. That is language. Communication is something different. And I think that people's lack of that intricate knowledge kind of gets them tripped up. Well, they have language. No, they have communication. They don't have language. You don't see any books in the forest written by Bigfoot. Although I did get a guy showing me a note in a cellophane envelope once. It was kind of funny because Bigfoot was gifting us, and this guy literally looked like him. He's like, and he slides this thing over to me. Bigfoot wrote that, and he's all out of breath. I look at it, I'm like, no, that was that was a 2-year-old toddler that wrote that. I just don't understand.
I will find that video link and put it somewhere or get it to you.
And Nick, sometimes language is accidentally structured too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, there was
otherwise down south they wouldn't say "widget digit."
I was looking, Steve. I was looking, Chris Cryptid, Steve. I was looking for that link to that video that's got the sound on it. I'll get that to you somehow or another. It wasn't coyotes. It was an oddball sound. Nice shrieking off in the distance.
Okay, so Lori, it doesn't work that way. That is still not language.
What?
That is communication.
Yeah. At this point, I'm on board with like a lot of nonverbal communication.
Right.
Movements or something,
or even the sounds. And we have so much evidence that they do not have a complex or syntactic type of language.
Right.
They have communication sounds, which you can call maybe a language. They have certain calls, perhaps, because we heard screams, we hear roars, we hear growls, we hear cries, we hear grunts, we hear whoops.
Right.
And that's 95%, 97% of the stuff that's out there. And then you have this fringe envelope. And I hate to say this, but the people that report language in Bigfoot believe in the woo type of deal with it. Right? They believe, well, Bigfoot are a people. Well, people are Homo sapiens by definition. And we know that a Bigfoot is not a Homo sapien because their foot structure is different, which meaning their DNA is different, which means they're not Homo sapien. Well, maybe they're hybrids. Well, hybridization only lasts for a very short period of time.
Well,
and we can thank Professor Kevin Harder for that lesson.
It's a difficult subject because we know they can make sounds. We know they can make sounds.
Right. But why does everybody got to make, not everybody, but why do certain people got to make it a bigger thing than what it is? Because in reality, every argument they have scientifically, it does not hold water. It does not hold water.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We are the only hominin that has the lower based vocal cord for speech articulation. We're the only hominin that has the FOXP2 gene, the speech gene. Right. So, given that, the likelihood, like I said, the paper says the likelihood, it's unlikely that, and the people that report other stuff that, I have Bigfoot in front of me and it's talking to me, are either under severe duress, severe stress, or infrasound effects. Right. They or they're delusional or they're lying. So those are your spread of options there.
That talked about Bigfoot mind speak. They saw the Bigfoot and it spoke to them in their mind.
Well, Lori, you can think I'm wrong all I want, but I have science to back it up, and that's the way it is. I mean, you've got no argument. Prove me wrong.
Well, I don't think anybody can be proven right, though, Steve. See, that's the thing.
Yeah, you can prove it right by the science, Chris, by the science. And if we're going to throw away the science book, I'm going to quit this show.
No, sir. No. Does not mean it's right. She can have opinion that could be just as right as that one. Maybe
it's fine. Right. I said she can have her opinion.
Yeah. Yours is based in scientific evidence. Yes.
Right.
I get the difference. Right. But we can't say you're wrong because it's not science. We can't do that. Can't do it.
All right. Well, great show tonight. Let's get out of here, Chris.
I have an example. Does science tell you that anywhere you have a Bigfoot sighting, somebody's going to have a fluttering in their ear? No, it doesn't. Does that mean it's wrong? No.
Have you read Bigfoot: A Scientific Examination? I think I talk about that.
The fluttering in the ear.
It's possible.
Yes, but not the flutter. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't specifically mention it, but it causes vibrations in the ear.
Yeah. I know ultrasound.
Well, that's a flutter. That's a flutter.
Infrasound. I know that. I got that part in the book. But the flutter, yeah. Nobody describes that, and yet that don't mean that it's wrong. You get where I'm going?
I don't see. I love it when people who try to make extraordinary claims say, "Prove me wrong." Well, science. Yes. They don't have the Fox. We're the only hominins that have the FOXP2 gene, which is the speech gene.
Yes.
There are a few other genes too, which I will reveal at a later date.
Right.
We're the only great ape that has the the pharyngeal structure to articulate a complicated language, an articulate language. Right.
I get.
They do not use symbols. That, by definition, is part of language.
Right. I get where you're going. I just don't want to shut down Lori for having a difference of opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Lori, go toe to toe. Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. You have your belief. I have my science. And I also have 27 years, 25 of which I have been interacting with them. Now, ever once has anyone ever said, "Hey, Steve, how you doing today?"
No.
Never.
No verbal.
None whatsoever. No. None whatsoever. And none of the probably 20 people that I've had up there that have interacted as well.
Yeah.
Have ever heard language either.
I would hope for a verbal encounter. Wouldn't that be great? If you have a sighting and you say, "Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. Are you hungry? Would you like some food? I got some food in my backpack." And them say, "Sure, I could eat." That would be awesome. That would be awesome. But so far, that ain't happened yet.
When people throw away the science book, they're lost. I said it's unlikely. I didn't say it's impossible. Understand that too.
Yeah, I got you. I just didn't want to shut her down just for having a different.
Oh, I'm not trying to shut her down.
That's all.
I'm not trying to shut her down.
Yeah. And I read your book twice.
But I'm just saying that that's the problem we have is going forward as Bigfoot researchers. We can't say that publicly. We sound like idiots. Science tears us to shreds on that. What evidence do you have? None. We have a guy that's using one sample.
Right.
We have no proof that they have a FOXP2 gene. We have no evidence of their pharyngeal structure. Most of the majority of the reports are whoops, howls, and screams, which, guess what? If you have an articulate language, you wouldn't need to use whoops, howls, and screams.
Right.
That's the other thing.
You could just yell, "Hey, they're coming."
Right. Exactly.
No need to go whoop, 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 whoop.
And the other fact too is that they are biologic. What's the word I'm looking for? They are not a very densely populated creature. They're not a densely populated animal, great ape, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right. So how would they pass on this language from one place to the other place to the other place to the other place?
Well, that would be a problem.
Right.
That would be a problem across distances. Yeah. Big problem. Unless there's some way that something we don't know about where they have travel long distances across the country and they're all an interrelated group. But that's speculation. Once again, that doesn't say anything about science. Can we prove they move around the country? No. I think they can move around.
Right.
Yes, Grant. Oh. So hence the world social distancing. I agree with that.
Right. And there's another. And by hominin study, because they are socially distant, gives even less impedance that they have formed a language.
Yeah.
Because as people came together, that's how language formed. Because they needed to, like I said at the very onset of this. Like I say, I don't. It is argued that their speech equivalent to human linguistic complexity is highly improbable. Understand what that statement says. That speech equivalent to human linguistic complexity is highly improbable.
Well, I am all for hoping that Bigfoot can speak. I really am. That would be great.
He'll tell you where to go. Out of my woods, Flatlander. Well, that may be, and I'll agree with that. What they say to each other is original. Okay, yes, and the same thing in each group of great ape. And by far, I'm not talking about anything about your level of intelligence, Lori. So you don't have to gaslight and throw that little comment in there. But because I'm not trying to gaslight anybody here. I'm not saying that anybody's crazy or whatever for thinking that way. What I'm saying is that again, great apes have their own communications unique unto themselves. I'm not arguing that point.
Yeah.
I think what we're having a disagreement over is semantics. I think there's a misunderstanding here. I'm not saying that they have a quote unquote language. They have their own communication set. What I'm saying is, and again, as I said at the onset, that they don't have the same tactics we do. They may go, and that may mean something, but it's not necessarily a language. It's an utterance of grunts and growls and certain pitches. and another one may go saying the same thing, but it's a little intoned a little bit different. So, and one could say, oh, yeah, it's like the New Yorker and the Kentucky guy, he says holler.
A little different.
Yeah, right. But what I'm getting at is that we always say how sparsely apart they are. How do they learn this language? Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get at, that it is not that they don't have their own way of communicating. Please
dialect.
Right.
That would be cool if they had a single language, but they had Southern dialects and Northern dialects, and the Massachusetts dialect. I can't even demonstrate that. I'm gonna park the car.
I'm gonna go walk over to the harbor.
Yeah, that's it. I love that.
But I'm gonna go tree knock near the harbor. And that's the other thing too, is they tree knock. So they have their own way of communication, no doubt. So please don't get me wrong on that point. They may have their own unique way of understanding what their calls mean, and that's huge too. Is that chimpanzees have certain calls that mean things, and gorillas have certain calls that mean things. So in essence, they have their own quote unquote language. The whole purpose of that paper, again, is my point being, is that they do not have the complexity that we do. Otherwise, we intercept their mail.
Pretty hard. Oh, I don't think.
Hang on a second.
I don't think they have the ability to read the language.
Yeah. Oh, there's a tree knocking party at Hill 46. Yeah. Now, they don't have that kind of syntactics, but they do. They do. I admit they have it. Yeah, when you start saying that, yes, they do. So you see how people articulate sometimes where it causes the confusion, and that would be congruent with the rest of primatology. Now, the way you've said that they do have their own communicate. You believe they have their own communication set unique into themselves. I agree 100%. Now, does that make a little more sense, Laurie?
But I'm pretty sure they don't speak English.
Right. They may mimic something.
Good. That's very possible.
That is not. But think about this. What other great ape can mimic a word?
Well, it's kind of funny, yeah, because you got parrots that can make up, they can have a whole conversation. They probably don't know what they're saying, but and then you have great apes that.
Guess what that parrot has? The FOXP2 gene.
Well, yeah, but he's not thinking about the conversation. He just
right. But he understands, right. And there's other genes that are involved in the process of language.
Right.
And there's several. There's like I think there's 3 of them that in my article I specify. There's the I've been writing so much I'm losing my mind. But oh yes, CC. With the old, I must confess, I enjoyed the single knock theory. If you remember that one, 1 knock means there's 1, 2 knocks means there are 2, something like that.
I don't know. I don't know if that works,
but yeah. So I think Laurie and I think we agree. It was just the way it was, it was coming. That's why I hate chat sometimes.
I think they could use whistles. I really do believe that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing, though. I mean, even though that I attribute the whistles that I heard to a Bigfoot creature, I didn't actually see him up there, didn't see him pucker his lips and make the whistle, so I don't know. Yeah.
But what other creature can drink out of a straw? Chimpanzees can do it very easily.
Not a parrot.
Not a parrot. Yeah, but they use their larynx to make their whistles.
Yeah.
And again,
They got lips. Yeah, they got lips.
Chicken lips.
No, Grant, I'm not upset. KFC moving to Texas. Good for them. Oh, that's pretty good.
All right, Chris, take us out.
Oh man, it's already time to go.
Yeah, we're 10 minutes over.
We're over. Sorry, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with us. I just lost my train of thought there. I was looking in the chat.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the show.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
On the way out, hit us with a thumbs up.
That would be great. And we know we got the greatest Bigfoot audience. We appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with us. And no, 1 knock was anyone out there. 2 was come over here, and 3 was go away. Well, I always use 3 knocks.
Wait. Why does 3? Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on a minute. I thought knocking 3 times meant, come here, I want you. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me.
I always knock 3 times on the tree. I hit the 3 times.
Knock 3 times on the tree if you want me.
Now Steve tells me I've been telling him to go away this whole time. Well, no wonder. No wonder. Knock 3 times on the tree, and they say,
Grant said, knock if by land, 2 knocks. Knock once if by land, 2 if by sea.
Oh my God!
Yes, that was Paul. That was Paul Revere Squatch.
You guys are killing me. Stop it! Oh, thanks, you guys. We appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on the way out if you hadn't already.
Now I'm going to have to create an image of Paul Revere Squatch.
Oh, that's good. But yeah, when Steve, that just blew my mind when the Curious Cryptid Steve said that. Said 3 times is go away. I was like, every time I go in the woods, I've been like 3 times.
No wonder they ain't knocking back.
Yeah. Go away. Okay.
Fine, I'm out.
Oh my God. Yeah, you derailed me, Steve.
All right, well. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea.
Oh my God. Oh,
Little did we know that the Sasquatch was quintessential in the fight for independence of the United States.
Faster Man says just tie a yellow ribbon around it.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, folks, we're out. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you all here on Free If by Portal. We'll see you all here on Friday night, 2 nights, clean a couple of nights. All right. I need a drink after this show.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Ciao.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.